So I gotta admit, as someone who's been breathing air pretty much since the day he was born, I was really surprised when I couldn't find a single review. That's pretty crazy, you know? Pretty much everyone has used air at some point in their life, whether they know it or not, but there is a disproportionate lack of reviews on the matter. The amount of reviews on air that exist, as far as I know, 0. And yet, air is one of the most fundamental pillars of our society. No, our very fiber of being. So, okay, I'll bite. I'm gonna give air an unbiased and objective review. Ignoring the fact that I, like most people, use it to breathe, I want to take a step back and really evaluate air for what it's worth. So, as many of you know, air is the invisible gaseous substance composed of mainly nitrogen and the rest being oxygen and a few other gases that make up much of the Earth's atmosphere. The majority of it being found in the troposphere. Starting off with the positives, air is one of those time-tested things that just never seems to go out of vogue. It's been kicking around for about 2 to 3 billion years now, with no signs of falling out of fashion for the foreseeable future. And this has been something that has really worked in air's favor, in terms of making something to be consumed. I suppose, in a sense, its reach, its virtual monopoly, if you will, on animal respiration has not only been something that has kept it around for such a long time, but it has influenced animals to the point where, some animals evolved solely to get in on the air game, as it were. Which makes sense because certainly air has a lot of benefits, mainly that it is a fast metabolizer. Oxygen, as it turns out, metabolizes fairly quickly, which allows for a lot of energy to be produced in a shorter amount of time than, say, if something were to metabolize carbon dioxide, off the top of my head. And certainly that's something that makes air very desirable for most of the animals on this planet. So I can definitely appreciate the sheer omnipresence of air, to the point where air has almost become this essential thing for living. I can really get behind how crucial it is as a foundation not only for humans, but for other organisms still evolving. In terms of ease of use, again, I gotta give it to air because, this is just something that I'm usually not aware of when I'm using it, and it's still working for me how it's supposed to work, and that's great. So, this is a substance that's so easy to use, even babies know how to operate it instinctively. However, air's functionality is not without its problems. I do have some issues here. While yes, the benefits from air metabolization are huge, it does have some drawbacks, mainly in the form of oxidation. A lot of people aren't aware of the fact that oxygen is actually, in fact, poisonous and is slowly killing us due to the oxidation that takes place in our cells. I can certainly appreciate the poetry in that the substance that keeps us alive is also the substance that is slowly killing us, but from a functionality point of view, I gotta say, this is just not a great look. Oxidation literally gives us cancer, and that's pretty trash. I just can't get behind that. I think that also really says something about the compatibility of air with its users. And that's not even to mention that air goes down the same hole as food, which is a complete oversight in its design, to say the least. We're basically mostly compatible, but there's still some issues to work out, that being the cancer and the poison. And you would think that after 1 billion years this would have been fixed, but it looks like this is an issue that's going to be around for a while still. And I feel like this stubbornness on behalf of air and this callousness just kind of sours my experience with it. Furthermore, I feel like the safety of air is completely overlooked. If we're talking about a day-to-day basis, then yes, for the most part, air is safe, besides the poison and cancer, but sometimes... And again, I just can't get behind that, no matter how essential air is for life. Yes, I definitely recognize its essential nature, but I don't think that gives it a pass for being murderous on occasion. Issues aside, again, I do value that air smells, tastes, feels, and is usually pretty much nothing to me unless I'm staying in a particularly pungent or polluted region. If I have to be in contact with the substance all the time, then I'm glad I don't notice it, because honestly, I could see myself getting very annoyed by even the most amazing odors after enough time. In terms of mouthfeel, air doesn't really have one. which is in most respects a positive for the reasons mentioned prior. You know, imagine how impractical it would be if air made our mouths swell like our stomachs when we breathed it in. So for the most part, I'm pretty much grateful that the tactile feedback is limited to the stomach regions. For this review, I've also decided to get a few testimonials. I feel like air is experienced by such a wide variety of people, and those experiences I will definitely factor into my review.
You know, it's funny because now, look, I think about this a lot, right? It's like, I like that it keeps me alive. I appreciate that. But in terms of the experience, it's pretty lacking. You know, 99% of the time, I'm not even aware that I'm using air. So I have to say my experience with it has been pretty forgetful overall.
You know, my wife and I actually got into an argument about this because she was telling me all about this air and talking about how great it is. But I gotta be honest, I barely noticed it exists. And now, my wife, right? She's telling me that this air is in front of me every waking second. What, is it invisible or something? What good is it if I can't even see it? What use do I have for something that I can't even see? In all honesty, I haven't been enjoying my air experience at all.
My husband is a fucking idiot. Air is great. I love how it keeps me alive. I don't even know why someone would have an unfavorable opinion on air. It's probably like maybe the third best thing in the world behind anime and water.
You know, going into this review, I was afraid with how I could keep the importance of air in mind while still being objective in my critique. And all in all, I think I'm pretty satisfied with how I've handled things. You know, air definitely has a lot of pros, and taking into account its life-giving nature, instinct would be to give it a perfect score. However, I just can't do that in good conscience because weighing the negatives, and there are a few, I just don't feel like it deserves a perfect score. Maybe in a few billion years, air can address those and I might go back and reevaluate my judgment, but for now, I'm gonna give air a 7. Okay, bye. Hi, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. It's just me reclining in my chair again, sounding dead as a cadaver. I just wanted to let you know that the new Tyler, Injury Reserve, and Carly Rae Jepsen albums are all so bangin'. And little state of affairs, I know some of you might have been expecting a more heartfelt video, and I'm working on it. I just have very specific ideas for how I want it to turn out, and I don't want to rush it, and I'm about to leave on vacation, so yeah, you'll see it when you do. Anyways, see you later, goodbye!